The Wall Street Journal reported late today that Attorney General Pam Bondi informed Trump in May his name was found within the Epstein files under review. The White House swiftly denied the Journal's report. Also today, a federal judge denied a Justice Department request for grand jury transcripts from 2005 and 2007. Now, this decision was not unexpected. It was always considered a long-shot gambit, one that looked outward instead of inward toward the very Epstein files in the Justice Department's possession. And the House Oversight Committee subpoenaed Epstein's accomplice, Ghislaine Maxwell, for a prison interview, even as lawmakers of both parties warn her credibility cannot be trusted. Trust in times of time machine politics. Very challenging indeed. Following these colliding stories, Olivia Gazis to my right, Jake Rosen to my left. Jake, let's start with you. Pick up where I left off, if you'd be so kind.
Sure. So what we do know about this current situation and reporting by the Wall Street Journal is that in May, yes, there was some kind of briefing, which happened all the time. This is what we do know. CBS News has not independently confirmed this Wall Street Journal report, but Kash Patel and Attorney General Pam Bondi meet with Trump all the time, and they have talked about Epstein in addition to many other things. The Wall Street Journal reported that in this meeting, they told him that his name would show up, which we do know, again, because in that first batch of those Epstein files, which we talked about a couple of weeks ago, in which a number of Trump-aligned influencers came to the White House, they held up those binders that said Epstein Files Part 1. Well, we do know that in that evidence, Donald Trump's name is there because it includes the public record of those flight logs, the fact that Epstein was a member at President Trump's Mar-a-Lago club for years before, as the White House said in refuting the story, he was kicked out for being, quote, a creep, in addition to a number of other things. The Department of Justice called this reporting a collection of falsehoods and innuendo to push a BS narrative that drives clicks. Basically circling back to this alleged meeting in May in which Attorney General Bondi told President Trump that he was in these files, that they were not going to release more because it includes child pornography, in addition to a number of other sensitive details as to one reason why they would not release these, and also that Donald Trump's name is one of potentially hundreds, if not more than that, of powerful people who are in connection or were in connection with Jeffrey Epstein.
And having your name appear in the files doesn't prove or disprove anything. The White House sensitivity about this does seem to raise some eyebrows.
Because it's kryptonite, and it won't go away at this point. We've been talking about this for some time now, because the Trump administration, Attorney General Bondi, President Trump, have not put this fire out among their base. There are still questions that have been raised that have not been answered. These attempts to unseal grand jury testimony are exceedingly rare, if you can even get it done. We saw one judge strike it down in Florida. Likely, we see another judge who has already expressed skepticism in New York, where both of these investigations were happening. Well, if you can't do that, which would be potentially some juicy information, we don't know yet. But if you can't do that, what can you do? That's the other thing. If they're saying there's no more files, but we'll try to unseal some things, it's kind of beating around the bush versus really trying to extinguish this fire.
And hard to keep in context the president's remarks very recently that all of this is a hoax.
And he also said that he was not told by Pam Bondi that he was in those files, which again contradicts the very issue at hand here.
Right. Jake Rosen, thank you very much.